Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion for Thursday, July 25th, 2019. This will be probably one of the shorter one of these video discussions that you will have seen in some time from me, because not much is happening anywhere around the globe. Today, the sea surface temperature anomaly is updated, July 25th there. Not much change. The cooling of the eastern Pacific continues along the equatorial region here. This warm horseshoe shape, fairly warm in the main development region, also fairly prominent. In fact, let's do something real quick. I'm going to just make a quick stop at Tropical Tidbits here. Made me think of something. Let's look at the analysis tools. The map that I was just showing is the CDAS, the NOAA-NESDIS map, and that's just a different data set. I want to see what the main development region was doing today, and it shows a little bit of a drop. That's interesting. This is definitely subject to dust outbreaks and other things like that, but anyway, just a distraction. I was like, okay, what is happening with the sea surface temperature anomalies from the CDAS data? Now, back to the regularly scheduled program to try to also keep this short. I mean, clearly you can see just from the pixel colors, generally speaking, the tropical Atlantic, a little warmer than it should be. Most notably, you don't see any blue like you have here north of Australia in the Atlantic, right? There's no negative anomalies to speak of. Maybe just a little bit right off the coast of Africa. The only negative anomalies are up here in the far northwest Atlantic, but the northern Atlantic, warmer than it should be up around Greenland and Iceland, and so forth and so on. So the pattern still fits that we should have a busy season as opposed to a not busy season. Now, I'm not saying a hyperactive season or anything like that, but we're not looking at anything that is out of the ordinary. You think about even 2010, and I can show you what that anomaly map looked like. It's a different, that's going back 9 years. Oh, they don't even, okay, sorry. You can tell I'm just kind of threw some of this together today. Looking at July 26, 2010, the Atlantic main development region was a lot warmer. We had this very cold Pacific. But in terms of when things get started, even 2010, which was a very busy year, no hurricanes made landfall in the U.S., actually, despite how busy that year was. It really didn't get started until late August through September. And so the point is that these busy seasons, they take a while to get cranking, even the ones that are hyperactive sometimes, like 2010. So no big changes to the sea surface temperature anomalies, whatever. Let's move on, shall we? In the Pacific Ocean there, we have the remnant circulation of Delilah. It is interesting, and I saw some folks opining about this over at the Storm 2K website, a great message forum site there, message board and forum, that we've had this convectively coupled Kelvin wave. You can't really see it on this satellite picture, but it's that area of favorability. Like I have said in a few videos lately, it's kind of like taking a Red Bull, and it really pumps you up. It's a smaller feature than the MJO. The Madden-Julian oscillation is a wider feature, or a larger feature in the atmosphere, whereas this convectively coupled Kelvin wave is typically a smaller overall feature. Anyway, it passed the eastern Pacific, and all that the Pacific could make of it, or from it, was a weak tropical storm. Isn't that interesting? You saw Dr. Michael Ventris, tweeting that it was one of the strongest, if not the strongest, convectively coupled Kelvin waves that he's ever seen. Certainly the strongest of this year, and yet it only produced a weak tropical storm. It is kind of interesting. Some rotation right here. Probably another system is going to try to develop out of this monsoon trough, an area of convergence and lower pressure, kind of like a grapevine, I like to call it. And sometimes you get these ripe grapes that come off of there, and then you see where they end up. The cold front, still the leftovers of it, the stalled front over parts of the Atlantic here, the Gulf of Mexico. Great news in that none of the models are indicating any development out of the leftovers of this front in the Gulf of Mexico. So no worries about that at all. Even a small little wave of low pressure that may fall. I can't even speak today. That may try to form. We'll just kind of follow the front and head on out to sea, maybe bringing some rain showers to Florida. And the persistent cloud cover and some showers and thunderstorms under those clouds will cool the Gulf just a little bit. Makes sense. In the Eastern Caribbean, this wind surge, this trade surge coming in from the Saharan air layer, and maybe a tropical wave in there, some showers and thunderstorms having passed through portions of the Northeast Caribbean islands, widely scattered. Nothing too concentrated. You know what? Let's just take a look real quick at the old weather.gov. Go to radar. If I'm going to talk about it, let's go look at it. And Puerto Rico, where are you? Hawaii. I know Puerto Rico sector. There we go. So here's a look at the radar. And let's look at the base loop. Whoops, I don't have my... It's always something. Click here to see radar. All right. Well, we'll just look at a still frame. So be it. Some showers passing over Puerto Rico. Some of the Virgin Islands here may have seen some passing showers earlier today. The bottom line, no organized areas in the Atlantic Basin right now of any tropical waves or anything. But it is interesting, the Kelvin wave, again, you can't see, it's so hard to describe what that is. And we're going to work on that over the weekend. I'm going to do an interview with Ben Knoll from Auckland in New Zealand and get him to talk about that a little bit and see if we can't come up with a way to visualize exactly what a convectively coupled Kelvin wave is. But what it does is more important than what it is, I think, and that is that it leaves, after it passes, usually a little bit of a westerly wind component in the lower atmosphere. It creates convergence, a more moist atmosphere, and it's just more fertile after it passes. And according to Dr. Ventris, that he posted today, the CCKW is passing generally through this area and over Africa eventually. And so that will lead to more convection. And so even though you really can't see the wave itself, it's a different way of measuring that, and they have different charts for that. You can see the influence of it. And here, to my point, a little bit more moisture, a little bit more lift in the atmosphere, but do not be fooled. Plenty of stable, dusty air, again, punching its way off of Africa in the mid to lower levels, going west with time. Typical of what you would see in late July. Even through mid-August, we're going to see these Saharan air outbreaks. There was a very famous picture, satellite picture, that my friend Michael Watkins posted. I can't remember, a couple years ago or something. People were talking, maybe it was 2017. I don't remember, but it was like August 15th or something like that, 2005. And it was this massive dust outbreak coming off of Africa. And yet, 10 days later, by the 25th, Katrina was born, and the rest, as they say, is history, right? So these outbreaks, people talk about them a lot. They are great for stifling activity, absolutely. But later on in the season, the pressures relax out here, and this wind pattern changes, and it's like a switch gets flipped. You probably already know all that. I'm telling you what you already know. All right. Again, alluding to the fact that we're not going to have any development in the Gulf, it looks like. Why? Well, red is stop, and green means go, generally. And for the most part, upper-level winds just not favorable down here. We do have this very sharp trough that developed over the eastern U.S., big ridge out west, very hot in the Four Corners region, with some monsoon action trying to come in with the North American monsoon system. But in the middle, a little bit of a battle zone, and this front came through. Again, not much way of getting it to develop into anything, so we don't have to really worry about that. Lastly, this is cool. You can see the vorticity signature. It's like a huge... Hey, you ever play that game, Slither.io? My kids really liked that. I played it for a couple months, a couple years ago. This reminds me of that game, Slither, where you grow the snake that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And there you go. Look at that. That's the winner right there. That's my gaming reference for today. Maybe I'll pick up some more. If I put Slither in the tags of today's video, maybe I'll pick up some more gamers, because gamers also seem to really follow the weather. It's true, especially the younger crowd. But nevertheless, this is vorticity. It's not Slither. It looks like Slither, but hey, Google it. You don't even have to play the game. Just look at, you'll see what I'm talking about. That is the front, and it's energy in the atmosphere, vorticity. And what I'm trying to point out, look how everything is elongated, right? Lengthy, right? It's not bundled and circular. Instead, it is stretched out over thousands and thousands of miles. And because of that, you don't get development. Well, other reasons too, but that's a sign that we're not having development. That's the better way to put that. And hey, look, a little bit more energy out here in the tropical Atlantic. It too, generally stretched out, not bundling and coming together. And that ends our discussion for today. All right? So there you go. Nice and quiet. Just wanted to point out a few things. Even though things are quiet, it's sometimes good to explain why they are quiet. And a little bit of a, when would things change? Well, generally following climatology, probably in a month. You never know before then, but that's typically when things pick up. Alrighty, so carry on about the rest of your Thursday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to me. I appreciate it from whatever device you happen to listen and watch from. I am Mark Slither, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow afternoon.